Hello, friends. It's Hila here from Hila at Home. In this day and age, we feel more stressed than ever before, and it's no wonder because we're being pulled in so many directions by so many different things. We have stressful jobs and family obligations, and we're constantly juggling appointments. And on top of all of that, there's also social media bombarding us at every second of every day, trying to command our attention. And it's really enough to make anyone crazy. But I think that if we take some ideas from our grandparents' generations for simple living, and within our modern era, we could try to live a happier and more fulfilled life. So let's get started. As today I am making a lovely summer meal, I'd love to talk about how to live a slower and simpler life and how I found that that's made me a lot happier. The base for the simple meal that I am making is a homemade spice mix that we use quite a lot, and it uses 1 tablespoon each of salt, paprika, ground cumin, onion powder, garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of chili powder. We can make it spicier by adding a tablespoon of chili powder, but I wanted everybody in my family to be able to eat with this food that I'm going to be making. And a couple of my children, they don't like things to be too spicy, so the half a teaspoon chili powder works quite well. I love making these wraps so much as they're so very easy and quick to make. And one of the things that I have done in order to simplify my life is to simplify the foods that I make and simplify the menu planning structure by doing menu planning, which buys me a lot more time to be able to be calm, anxiety free, and stress free. Another thing that I like to do is to start off my mornings just by doing some really simple things in the morning to stay nice and calm and to kickstart my day. And I start the first hour of my day is tech free, completely tech free. I don't go on my phone. I try and spend as much time as I can in nature, if at all possible. When the weather is good, I'll be outside in the garden. If not, I'm going to be by the window, looking outside and getting some natural light first thing in the morning. Of course, in summer, it's a lot easier to get the natural light. And because it's been so bright and sunny of late, the house also gets very warm. So I've tended to use my Instant Pot a lot more for my cooking because it doesn't generate as much heat in the kitchen as cooking on the stovetop does. And this is one of the reasons why I do love making this particular meal. And I'm making a double batch of it, and half of the batch is going to get frozen up, ready for another meal another day. But in this way, I can keep the house cooler as I am cooking. So I have the chicken breast, which I will put in some oil, and I will rub that spice mix that I have made in it, and I'm cooking it in the Instant Pot. It's only going to require 5 minutes in the Instant Pot, and you can use frozen chicken breasts. I've done this with frozen chicken breasts before. You just increase, I think I do it at 10 minutes with frozen chicken breast, but these are fresh, so they'll only need 5 minutes in the pressure cooker on high pressure. And I will add just 1 tin of some chopped tomatoes. This time I decided to go fancy with some Italian tomatoes, and these are just to add a little bit of moisture to kickstart the pressure cooking process. But the beauty of using the Instant Pot is that it will extract all of the lovely juices from the chicken without making it go too dry, and it will be quickly done. And I'll use the quick release function to get the chicken breast fillets out really quickly. Another thing that people in past times focused on is that they did fewer things. Each day was allocated something. So, wash day was Monday, ironing day was Tuesday, baking day was Saturday, and so on. And they actually got a lot more done because they focused on fewer tasks. And because they focused on fewer tasks, it may seem odd to us in our day in the age of multitasking, but it really does work. So, one of the things that really helped me was using the Fly Lady system where each day is allocated something. And after 10 years of using the Fly Lady system, it has just meant that I don't overwhelm myself and I focus on just getting done the things that I should get done on that day. And it makes me feel like I've accomplished something. And it's really wonderful when you have that structure to the week, to know that Tuesday is the planning day where I plan out my menus. Monday is the day that I do the whole house clean. Wednesday is anti-procrastination day. And that's a really wonderful thing that I do wish I'd learned earlier. But I have realized that as I've been reading a lot of the vintage books and watching a lot of stuff from back in the day, is that this was something that they did back then, and it contributes to having a slower, less cluttered, more calm life. To go with the wraps, I'm making a coleslaw salad. I love a coleslaw in summer. It's so easy to make. It's incredibly nutritious and very filling. And for my coleslaw, the base has to be carrots, red cabbage, and white cabbage. And then anything else, whatever is fresh, crunchy, and in season, as far as I'm concerned, it can go into a coleslaw. So on this day, I have some radishes, I have some red bell peppers, and I have some red onions to also go into the coleslaw itself. And I love to prepare all of the vegetables beforehand so that they'll be ready to go into the food processor, which was such a lifesaver. One of the things that I do like to use when it comes to simplifying life and to making tasks go by nicer and easier is getting the right tools for the job. I used to use the handheld grater to grate the cabbage and grate the carrots, and I fought for the longest time against getting a food processor because I perceived it as a lot of clutter. But it turned out that the length of time it took to grate all of the vegetables, as well as the number of injuries that I would get from getting carried away and then grating my knuckles, were reducing the number of times that I was making things like the coleslaws. But once my husband actually got this for a birthday, I have loved my food processor because it's made the process so much more fun. I love seeing all of the colors as they begin to gather in the bottom of the food processor, and it has added joyfulness to making a dish that normally before I would put off making on a regular basis, on a daily basis, because it would take so long to make. So that's another thing that I think is quite useful to think about in terms of slowing down and making life simpler as well. Do we have the right equipment to make things simpler? Because that can give us more time to be able to just savor and just to be in the moment. So even though with the food processor, not everything gets perfectly grated, it's not an issue at all, because whatever doesn't get perfectly grated is going to go into the compost heap, which then goes into the vegetable garden, which then will grow the vegetables. So it's all a lovely virtuous cycle. Whilst most of my other household tasks have a day allocated to them, laundry is something that must be done every day, otherwise, the entire system of my household collapses. To quote Fly Lady, a wash a day keeps Mount Washmore away. This was supposed to be a quick 2-minute changeover. Unfortunately, somebody had left a tissue in their pocket, and so we had the dreaded dry lint from the tissues that needed to be cleaned up. Back in the kitchen, it's time to continue with the coleslaw salad. I like to make this ahead and leave it in the fridge for a couple of hours so that the flavors can really mature. And I do find that coleslaw tastes a lot better when it's had a few hours to mature the flavor. For the coleslaw salad dressing, I base it with the mayonnaise, a couple of cracks of some sea salt, and then I will add some acidity, either in the form of apple cider vinegar, but I didn't have any, so I just used some rice wine vinegar, which I normally would use in Chinese cooking. And I'll just mix that together before I then add some whole grain mustard, and the whole grain mustard will give it a really lovely piquante taste. And then in order to cut into that sharpness very slightly, I will add just a tiny half a tablespoon of honey, and that's the dressing good to go. It will be added to the coleslaw. The coleslaw will be cling filmed and kept in the fridge for a few hours before serving. Taking pleasure in ordinary moments is also a wonderful thing. Things like sitting on the patio drinking some lemonade in the summertime, watching passers-by, doing people watching, or chatting with a neighbor over the garden fence, or organizing a get-together with friends, or playing badminton with the children. All of these things are simple, and there's nothing elaborate, nothing complicated, but they do show us how to be present in the moment and enjoy those everyday things that we can do, and that there's always a good thing to be enjoyed by being in the present moment. The chicken is now ready for the next stage. It's nicely cooked and it's still juicy and plump and very flavorsome. I'll let it cool down for a couple of minutes before I then pull it or shred it as if I'm making pulled pork. And I'm going to use all those juices that have mostly come from the chicken and from the tomatoes. And I'm going to add some barbecue sauce to it in order to thicken it. And that's the sauce that's going to go over the wraps. I've made enough here for 2 batches, so half of the batch is going to get frozen for another day. I love to cook in batches because it means that I always have some nutritious homemade meals as backup in the freezer for those days when I'm just feeling completely run down and completely uninspired. I know I can just dig into the freezer and I can find a really good meal that I can serve to my family. And it's another way that I've found of simplifying life through simplifying the menus and repeating the foods that my family loves to eat. I used to think that menu planning meant that every single day of every month had to have something different and exciting. But not at all. If you read the housekeeping books of yesteryear, you will find that routine and repetition features so heavily in it, and it works. It absolutely does work. And I've done quite a few videos on menu planning and why I absolutely love menu planning. I've added some cream cheese to the chicken after I shredded it, and it's going to be put into these tortilla wraps, and I'm going to wrap them in an envelope format, so it's sort of a tuck in, fold, fold, and another tuck. And I've put them in an oiled Pyrex dish because they are going to go into the oven after I put the barbecue sauce over the top of them and sprinkle some cheese. So these wraps are a huge favorite in my family. They are great because they are cooked mostly in the instant pot, so it doesn't warm up the kitchen and the house unnecessarily. And best of all, I can make batches. So the second batch that's going into the freezer has a greaseproof paper underneath, and that's so that once it's frozen, I can release the Pyrex dish underneath it, and then that's going to come back to get used whilst the wraps that are frozen are waiting for their day on the table, so to speak. Though globalization has meant that we're able to eat exotic fruits from all over the place, I have found that seasonal eating, according to where you are, can be such a pleasurable way of enjoying meals and of simplifying life. And one of the joys of summer here in Britain is the berries. Our strawberries are in season, and they're really cheap and plentifully available in the supermarkets. And so I love to incorporate whatever is in season in my menu plans. And in summer, we do a lot of fruit salads. And we're making a fruit salad today for the meal. And with the fruit salad, I really just go with whatever is available then. So this one has got strawberries, and it will have some grapes, and we also have some Gaia melons, which are now available in Aldi, which is our discount supermarket place that we buy from, and they tend to sell a lot of things that are seasonal as well. And a fruit salad is such an easy thing to make. Normally, I would ask one of my children to make it, but I'm making everything ahead of time so that the fruit salad has got time to get nicely chilled, because I think that is the best fruit salad on a hot, sunny summer's day when the fruit is nice and cold. The other thing about a fruit salad is it generates a lot of content for the compost heap, and all fruit peels and offcuts, they actually degrade a lot faster than their vegetable counterparts. So it's a little bit of a win-win. With my fruit salad, I'm not adding any orange juice or anything to it, because I don't have any orange juice. And when I was growing up, this is how my mother always made it. She didn't add anything extraneous. The juices of the fruit themselves would, gradually come out and mix together and create a really lovely, fruity, natural tasting fruity drink. And so with mine, I just carried on that tradition that my mom has passed on to me. And the fruit salad is going into the fridge, where it will be nicely chilled and ready to eat when it's dinner time. Another thing that we did to make our lives much simpler, particularly around meal times, which can get quite chaotic with a family our size, was to always have set meal times. And this is really wonderful because it gives the day structure, which is one of the things that I find simpler living really needs to have, having that structure that allows you to tune out all of the noise around everything else and then just be able to focus on what it is your heart truly desires, and then you can live accordingly to that. And when it's sunny, for me, I love to eat outside. And I've been working on creating this outdoor dining room, so to speak, where we can have a permanent outdoor sitting area. Previously, we've been moving the table over to the grass, and then we have to move the table away from the lawn so that we can play badminton. So the dining area is still a work in progress, but it was something that I realized deep in my heart I would love to have because it reminds me of our camping trips in Italy. Thank you so much for coming along on this vlog. And wherever you are in the world, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye.